Hey guys, Matt Guzman here, back with another video, and today is going to be about how to get the Scouting Heritage Merit Badge. Jumping into the first requirement, which says, discuss with your counselor the life and times of Lord Baden-Powell of Gilwell. Explain why he felt a program like Scouting would be good for the young men of his day. Now, there's plenty of websites and videos you can go to. A lot of them actually have audio from when Lord Baden-Powell actually explained what his intent was, but here's a general downrun of what his vision was. The origins of Scouting is in 1908 when Lord Baden-Powell wrote a book titled Scouting for Boys, which inspired boys to promise to be loyal to his country, help other people, and in general obey the Scout law. However, a lot of the men were in bad conditions of his time, and he thought he would inspire the young men to do great things. A lot of them from his day were not even healthy enough to join the military, so he thought that everyone should have a great youth experience and follow a conduct to further better themselves. Throughout the years, he gave guidance to the Scouting movement, and even though it started in the UK in 1908, the Scouting movement soon spread across multiple countries, like in 1910 when William Boyce founded the Boy Scouts of America. Alright, the first requirement also says to include in your discussion how Scouting was introduced in the United States and include the origins of Boy Scouting and Cub Scouting under Baden-Powell. Moving on to requirement number 2, it says do the following, which means both options. 2A says to give a short biographical summary of any two of the following options. There's 5 of them, and tell of their roles and how Scouting developed and grew in the United States prior to 1940. Again, picking 2 of the following, give a short biographical summary of either Daniel Carter Beard, William D. Boyce, Waite Phillips, Ernest Thompson Seton, and James E. West. 2B says to discuss the significance to Scouting of any 2 of the following. Again, you only choose 2 of these, either Brown Sea Island, the First World Scouting Jamboree, the Boy Scout Handbook, and the Boys Life magazine. Moving on to number 3, it says to discuss with your counselor how Scouting's programs have developed over time and been adapted to fit different age groups and interests. Especially now in recent years, one of my first videos when I covered what is Scouts BSA, when girls were first allowed in Boy Scouts and Scouts BSA. That's when they first started to adapt to different Boy Scouts and like interests and age groups, obviously with girls being allowed to join Boy Scouts, turning it into Scouts BSA. But give the answer a little history based on the different improvements that have been gone to the Scouting program to better include more people. So let's say history of Scouting. So over the years, the Boy Scout movement was intended for boys 11 to 14, but it was apparent that younger and older establishments were needed, thus making Cub Scouts, venturing, other establishments that are part of Scouting in general. They also eventually allowed homosexuals to join the organization, and recently, as I said before, they admit younger girls to its Cub Scout program and its Boy Scouting program. But give a little history based on like the different improvements that have gone into the Scouting program to better include more people, just stuff like that, how it's been adapted, like in Cub Scouting, Boy Scouting, exploring, or venturing. There's also other names for exploring. It's not just because I've never heard of exploring Scouts before, but there's other names for it, so you know. Requirement number 4 says to do one of the following. There are 3 options, but all of them are pretty long, so I'm just going to do what I did for the archaeology video and just show it on the screen and give a little rundown of each. Alright, I will put this link in the description for the entire requirement list of Scouting Heritage. Moving on to number 4, the first option is to attend a National Jamboree or World Scout Jamboree. The second option is to visit the National Scouting Museum and obtain information about it. And the last option is to visit an exhibit of Scouting memorabilia, like a local museum. For me, I did option C, and I actually took a virtual tour of the OA Tipisaw Lodge in Lanoche. I've actually been there multiple times too in one of my videos, but I didn't show the entire thing, so the virtual tour that I took showcased almost everything that they had in that museum. And if you're curious about the second option for the National Scouting Museum, that is located near Philmont and New Mexico. And on the website, it says it was built to allow the organization to share the history of Scouting with more visitors that it comes each year. For decades, the Scouting Museum has played an important role in preserving and telling the rich story of the Boy Scouts of America and the positive impact Scouting continues to have on youth and families. So, Philmont is also known for its backpacking and hiking trails, but they also have the National Scouting Museum there as well. Okay, moving on to requirement number 5. It says to learn about the history of your unit or scouting in your area. I think this is a really helpful requirement because it not only teaches you about the history of your troop, but the state of it and how it's improved as well. Because, you're learning about your unit. So you interview at least 2 people, one from the past and one from the present that have been associated with your troop. It could be an older scout that has been aged out or something, or it can be an adult leader that used to be a scoutmaster, and then a current scout or a current adult leader, something like that. And you need to interview them. And the history of your unit or scouting in your area. These individuals could be an adult unit leaders, scouts, troop committee members, or representatives of your troop's chartered organization. Find out what the unit was originally chartered, like the original number, if it's changed or anything, and create a report of your findings on the history of your troop. Present it to your patrol or troop at a court of honor, and then add it to the troop's library. Also, this presentation could be in the form of an oral and or written report, an exhibit, a scrapbook, or computer presentation such as a slideshow. Moving on to requirement number 6, make a collection of some of your personal patches and other scouting memorabilia. With permission, you may use items borrowed from family members or friends who have been in scouting in the past, or you may include photographs of different items. And with your collection of patches and or scouting memorabilia, show this collection to your counselor and share what you have learned about items in the collection. There is no requirement regarding how large or small this collection must be, just enough to where you can show what you have and your collection and share what you have learned about the different items you've collected. Requirement number 7 says to reproduce equipment for an old-time scouting games like the ones that were played at Brownsea Island or at one of the first World Scouting Jamborees, just an old scouting game. You may find one in your own with your council's approval or pick one from the Scouting Heritage Merit Badge pamphlet. One of the more common games that are known is Kim's game, where you have a list of items on a table and then you put a tarp over it and you need to be able to pick ones out. Or another variation is you put items on a table, cover it, and then some people take items out and you have to figure out which item was taken out. Something like that, where you can recreate it by getting the equipment for the I guess you could say old-timey games that were previously used in the early establishments of scouting. Teach and play the game with other scouts. Requirement number 8, which is the last one, and I think one of the most interesting, is to interview at least 3 people, different from those you interviewed for requirement 5, that are over the age of 40 who used to be scouts. Find out about their scouting experience and ask about the impact that scouting has had on their lives. Maybe they were one of the scouts who never had to do an Eagle project because the requirement wasn't around then. Or maybe they had a different experience because of the way their troop was set up. There are some questions you can ask them, and I think I have a screenshot of example questions. So when I did this online, our counselor, who used to be a Boy Scout himself, answered these questions that he set out for us. So that's what that side note is. We would have to interview 2 more people, which means 3 overall. But basically, the questions are very simple, like why did you join scouting? What is your favorite memory? What's the hardest thing you ever had to do in scouting? And of course, how scouting has changed their lives. Just questions like that where you can learn about their experiences and how it has shaped them and how scouting has had an impact on the different things that they've had to do, the different lessons they learned, the traditions they might have done or participated in. Questions like that where you can learn about scouting in the past and also the people who took part in it in the past. And after you're done interviewing, share with your counselor what you have learned. And that is it for the badge for Scouting Heritage. Thank you for watching my video on how to get the Scouting Heritage Merit Badge. If you did enjoy, please like it, turn on notifications on my channel, and I will see you all in the next video.